Salutations and welcome to the farm. Well, I'm bringing you here into my kitchen today so you can join me as we make dinner. And tonight we're going to be making something that has just been a hit. It's gone viral on TikTok. And I saw it mentioned the other day in another YouTube video. Didn't know what it was, I just heard it mentioned. And I thought, I need to make that. So this year in my garden, I have planted little cherry tomatoes, little sugar rush tomatoes. And I thought I would plant these little cherry tomatoes for my husband's salads and he would really enjoy them, but there are far too many and I don't know what I'm going to do with all of them. So I looked into this recipe and I thought, let's go ahead and make it today here on the farm. I've got some of my artisan bread out in the sun oven baking up, so we're going to have bread with this delicious dinner. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I've already got a couple handfuls of the beautiful cherry tomatoes that we've grown in our garden. I've rinsed them and I've let them drain well, and we're just going to put them in this little baking pan here. Just going to pop them in there. I'm not going to cut them in half. I'm not going to do anything to them. Just pop them in just like that. I have some beautiful garlic. I didn't plant my own garlic this year, maybe next year. Let's do 3 little cloves of garlic. And I don't have to cut these super fine. We'll kind of be just breaking everything down later. I'm going to go ahead and cut the ends off. Take my knife, put the flat of it on there and give them a little smack. Kind of breaks that paper away so we can peel them easily. And with all of these little scraps here, I'm going to put these in my freezer. I have a freezer bag just full of all of my little scraps so I can make my own vegetable broth later. Let's give this one another smack. There we go. And that way it peels right off. I imagine I'm going to have to smack this one too. That's a really large clove of garlic. Got a little spot on there I don't like. I'll cut that off. But all of these little scraps, the papers and everything from my garlic, they're going to go into my veggie broth when I do that. And I'll just do that in my Instant Pot. And then I will can it in my pressure canner. So we have all of our garlic here. I'm just going to give it just a little bit of a rough cut into little slices, nothing too detailed or precise. And take all those, I'm just going to sprinkle them in here in my little pan. Now then, I'm going to take some EVOO, extra virgin olive oil. We're just going to give these a good drizzle, all of my tomatoes a good drizzle, the garlic a good drizzle, and I mean a good drizzle. Roll them around real good. I don't need this anymore. Let's get rid of the cutting board. So just really make sure that all of the tomatoes have some oil on them. And then we're going to give a nice little sprinkle of salt. I'm using the Redmond's pink salt. I have to figure out what to do with this now. And then we're going to give them a drizzle, not a drizzle, a sprinkle of some really nice restaurant style pepper. It's the pepper that's a little bit thicker, like what you would get if you were using a pepper mill, and I don't have one. So let me grab something. Okay, so to our tomatoes, we're going to add a block of feta cheese. I have had feta cheese sprinkled on salads before, but I've never had a whole chunk like this before. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of distribute the tomatoes a little bit so they're a little bit out of the way. And we're just going to deposit this entire block of feta cheese right in the middle. Here we go. Okay, so that didn't go as planned. It's going to require a little bit of manipulating here to get the tomatoes where we want them to go, all around the outside, just like that. Now with the cheese, we're going to drizzle it with olive oil all over the top. Give it a sprinkling of salt and pepper. Oh, doesn't that look delicious already? And we're going to pop this in the oven. Now, silly me, I don't remember how much I'm supposed to set my oven at. It should have been preheating. And I don't know what I'm supposed to roast these at. I'm going to add that right here. But these are going to go in the oven. And then after they have kind of roasted for the specific amount of time that I'll put right here, then we're going to up the oven to almost to broiler, and then we're going to leave it in an extra 10 minutes so that the cheese gets all nice and bubbly on top. So I'm going to go pop this in the oven, and I'll be back. You know, I don't know about you, but I really love watching cooking shows like The Worst Cooks in America, and they teach you all of these neat little things and the little terms that's used in the chef world. And one of those is mise en place, which means getting everything ready. So while my tomatoes and my feta cheese are in the oven at 400 degrees for 30 minutes, I'm going to kind of get some of my other things ready. So I have here some fresh basil out of my garden. I've rinsed it, I've towel dried it, and I'm just going to roll it up. I'm going to put all of my leaves together, just kind of stack them all together so they just have a nice little pile of cards here. I'm going to roll them up, and then I'm going to take my knife and I'm just going to cut them into tiny little strips, or chiffonade them. Chiffonade is what this is called. So I'm going to cut these up into these pretty little basil ribbons, and we'll be adding this to our meal as we're putting it all together. There we go. That's going to go off to the side there. And then when this is all done and I've added my pasta and we've got everything mixed together, did you know there was pasta in this dish? There is. And I'm going to be using, I don't know if I can show that. I'm going to be using these little corkscrew ones. They look like they're lots of fun. Just looks like it'll make a really fun dish. You don't have to use the little cork square pastas. You can use the bow ties. You can use ziti or manicotti, or is it mastacholi? I don't remember. You can use the little ones, or you can even use spaghetti. But when everything is all said and done and put together, we're going to want to sprinkle some fresh Parmesan on top. So I've got my little grater out here and a fresh wedge of Parmesan, not the fakey stuff. You got to get the real stuff. And we're just going to go ahead and just get a little bit into this dish here. Parmesan is a very hard cheese, so sometimes it's a little difficult to grate. I need one of those little ones where you put a cheese in and then you crank the little handle like they have at Olive Garden. But this is what we're going to use for now. Just this little hand grater. The more effort you put into something, the more invested you become, the more you'll enjoy the meal, right? And we want just enough just to sprinkle on top, so I don't need a whole lot. And just a little bit more here. And I'll wrap that up in one of my wax wraps, my beeswax wraps, and then that will store in the fridge and it will be preserved nicely. And we've got this pretty little cup of Parmesan that we're going to use once everything comes out of the oven. I'm going to go check on my bread, and I'll be back after our 30 minutes is done. Then we're going to crank up the temp to 450 for another 10 to 15 minutes. Now, one thing I did while I was not on camera was I did sneak over to my oven and I sprinkled some red pepper flakes on top of the cheese, just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of heat. So we'll see how that turns out. So I'm going to go check on my bread. Well, our cherry tomatoes are almost done. They're in the 450 degree oven now for about 10 to 15 minutes. I've got my water boiling, salted water, and we're going to be cooking our pasta in it al dente. And then we'll be going step by step in a little bit here, showing you how to put it all together. But I wanted to show you, I went out to my solar oven and I grabbed the bread. And I wanted to show you just how beautiful the bread turned out. Look at that beautiful loaf of artisan bread. So beautiful. I have a video that I will put the link to right up here so you can learn how to make this beautiful bread. You can make this bread in a solar oven, you can make it in a turkey roaster, or you can just make it in your regular oven. It was a beautiful sunny day today here on the farm, so I chose my solar oven. I sprinkled it with some salt and pepper and some garlic and some minced onion, dried onions. Oh, it smells so good and it looks so beautiful. I cannot wait to cut into this and have this with dinner tonight. Well, we've cooked our pasta to al dente state, and I've gone ahead and strained it. Don't leave it in the water. You don't want it to get mushy while you're tending to other items. And also, I've got my beautiful artisan bread ready to cut, so we're going to be able to put everything together. I've pulled out the cherry tomatoes after being in the broiler, and I just want to show you how beautiful they are. Look at the cherry tomatoes with all of the beautiful olive oil and the feta cheese. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take a fork and we're just going to start mashing all of this up. So we're going to break apart the cheese. We're going to smush the little cherry tomatoes that are just going to kind of burst and squirt everywhere. So we're going to have to be careful. So we're just going to spend a few minutes and just mash all of this up. The cheese with the tomatoes, mash up the garlic that's in there, and just get everything evenly distributed. My friend is not so sure I'm going to like this. She says, you know, feta cheese is a pretty strong cheese. So I've had it before in salads. We'll see how I like it as a main dish. But look at how beautiful all those little tomatoes are. Now I'm going to admit, when you get to this stage, I don't know how appetizing that looks. All of those cherry tomatoes all busted up with all the cheese. It smells really good though. Really just delicious. If it tastes half as good as it smells, we're going to really enjoy dinner tonight. So now we're going to take our little bits of basil that we chiffonade earlier, sprinkle that in there, get every last little one. You appreciate it so much more when you grow it yourself as opposed to getting it at the store. We're just going to mix that in. That's going to release all of the aroma of the basil. Oh my goodness, that's good. And then we're just going to start incorporating the pasta in here, just a little bit at a time. And it's going to melt that cheese all the more. Look at those curly cube pastas. Aren't they fun? And we're just going to start folding that in. I don't know if my little container is going to be big enough to hold it all. This isn't particularly saucy, not as saucy as I thought it was going to be, but it looks delicious. It smells delicious. And I'm going to have to decide if I want to put the rest of this pasta in or if I want to save it for something else, because this is looking pretty good right about where it is. So I didn't use all the pasta. I put some of it back into the pan without any water. I'll find something else to do with that. But look at just how beautiful this turned out. We're going to go ahead. Ooh, that's hot. Get myself a rag here. I'm going to go ahead and dish some up for Papa Jim. Now, we like to eat out of pie plates. Kind of keeps everything from spilling off the edge of your plate. So I'm going to go ahead and dish him up his portion. Oh my gosh, look how beautiful that is. There we go. And then we're going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top that we grated up earlier. Beautiful. Maybe just a little sprinkle of pepper. Makes it look a little more rustic. And then I've got our bread out ready. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off a nice hearty slice off of the edge here for him. Nice big chunk of artisan bread. Look at how beautiful that is. And we have our Amish butter that we picked up out at the Amish market the last time we were out. Just put that on here. You know what? He's probably going to want 2 pieces of bread, so I will cut him another slice. Beautiful butter on there. And I'm going to set this in the little toaster oven for when he comes home. His dinner will be ready. It's about that time for him to come home anyway, so I don't think it'll be in there too long. It will still be nice and warm. The Parmesan is starting to melt on the top and the butter is melting into the fresh baked bread. I think this is going to be a beautiful dinner. But you know what? Before I say goodbye, I'm going to dish mine up and I'm going to taste it and tell you how I like it. A little Parmesan on top of mine. Just a little pinch pepper. This is where we're going to see if I put in too many red pepper flakes. Oh, I could use this fork right here. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I like it. Make sure that I get a little piece of tomato, a little piece of basil, and a beautiful little curly Q pasta. Oh my gosh. That is very rich, very decadent. Oh my goodness. Oh, the basil is delicious. The feta cheese does have a tang to it, and I put in just the right amount of the red pepper flakes, just a pinch, put it all over on top of that cheese. This is a winner. How did my bread turn out? I generally like to have my pasta dishes more on the saucy side, but this is delicious. This is a keeper. I will be making this again. So if you have a lot of cherry tomatoes in your garden this year, I highly recommend trying this for a beautiful dinner. Pair it up with your favorite wine. It is delicious. So until we see each other again here on the farm, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a blessed day. Thank you so much for stopping by.